Hello, Internet. It's your boy, MC Gingerbread, back at it again with another hot take. Before you go and click off this video or give me a dislike, let me preface this video by saying I absolutely love Elden Ring. I have put over 80 hours into this game right now, and I have a way to go before I'm truly done with it. But without further ado, let's get into this. Alright, so once this game came out, all the reviews were heaping praise on this game, saying it's one of the best games of all time and telling everyone how amazing it is. And I didn't want to hop on the bandwagon, and I wanted to ask the question, is it really that good? Honestly, I don't think so. Don't get me wrong, this game is great. With over 100 plus hours of content for you to bash your skull against, with cool and unique bosses, loads of neat weapons, and powers for you to unlock and utilize to become the ultimate Elden Lord, it's really awesome. And as an open world, I would kind of hope to expect that that's a common occurrence. I would expect that there's lots of side quests to do and neat items to help you find and complete your goals, but they're all optional. But some open worlds like Assassin's Creed Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla make side content mandatory, as you don't get enough experience to start the main quests just by doing the main missions. And when you take that choice away from the gamer, the quest becomes more of a chore than a fun side quest. Now I have to do them, which is never fun. Crafting is also an extremely common thing in open world games. You can choose to take advantage of it, or you can completely ignore it, or at least I hope. Horizon Forbidden West, for example, makes crafting an integral part of the gameplay, where I constantly have to be making arrows to use because they're the main source of combat. But unlike most of the open world games as of late, Horizon seems to not realize that I'll be hunting down crafting materials constantly, and they left in those little animations every fucking time you pick up something. The animations seem cool, like, hey, look, we're being realistic. The items don't just show up in your inventory, you have to collect them, which makes sense. But when I have to collect crafting materials, and I have to watch the animation every time I do it, I find myself getting very annoyed at that fucking animation. A lot of games have thought of this, and maybe took some realism out by removing the animation, and those games are so much better for it. Elden Ring doesn't suffer from this normal endless checklist of stupid things to do either. Most open worlds are plagued by similar missions like base assaults, where you just go to a base and kill everyone inside and sometimes collect an arbitrary item to confirm the base is secured. A lot of these times the bases that are captured don't even affect the story or gameplay. Yes, you might be able to go to an area without being swarmed by enemies, but they're still all over the map regardless, and even in the dynamic open world of Dying Light 2, where your choices matter, they barely seem to affect the gameplay other than you get jumpy pads or guards, and that's really it story-wise. Also, there's no towers spread about the world in Elden Ring, like you have to in every other video game where you have to climb it and open up the map. Every open world has these. Even Spider-Man has these. Some of them are interesting and different each time, like Breath of the Wild or Forbidden West, but they're essentially all the same, tall towers above everything else used to fill out blank areas in the map. Elden Ring doesn't have those towers. They're literally just pieces of the map on the ground near the main roads that lead into the fucking areas, and that's it. I don't think the game is any less for it. Also, Elden Ring didn't release with a fucking premium currency money shop for skins or other bullshit day one, which isn't something to be celebrated about. Yay, thanks for not asking for money after you already took my money, but it's definitely a plus since almost every major release nowadays has some stupid ass monetized shop to sell you shit that makes their intentionally grindy game less grindy. What I'm saying is, Elden Ring isn't groundbreaking. It isn't the best game ever made. It might not even be the best game this year. We don't know. But what it is a really, really good open world. And the other open worlds that have come out recently are just not good. And so that's why this game has shined so brightly. You can feel that the devs took their time to pour their heart and soul into every inch of this game. From the smallest little dungeon to the biggest, most epic boss battle, everything feels unique and new. There's no boring, grindy bits because you could die at any moment, so you're always on edge. There's no dull, cringy dialogue because it's always so cryptic and strange that most of the time you have to pay close attention to it in order for you to really grasp what is being said. There's no hour-long tutorial level. You can even choose to skip the tutorial altogether. All of these things are great, but in honesty, that's how open worlds should be. They didn't change up how open worlds are made or added a new mechanic to make it interesting and new. Shit, they basically just copied and pasted the Dark Souls formula and dropped it into a huge, well thought out open world game, which is great, but not revolutionary. Games should be well thought out and interesting, not grindy and boring with cringy dialogue and a predictable plot, but that's kind of what we've come to expect from open world games as of late. Most big name open world games feel more like a checklist than an actual game, just endless repetitive tasks for me to check off as I listen to NPCs drone on about problems that I don't give a shit about. I can point to this game and say to the AAA studios, this is how you make an open world, but I can't say this is going to change the formula for the next couple of years like The Last of Us did with third-person cinematic story-like games, or Breath of the Wild did with its open worlds and its incredible physics engine and handoff approach to storytelling. I feel like we have become accustomed to crappy games with boring dialogue and grindy gameplay, all because they are the next step in the franchise that you really liked back in the day, or the games that were all promised these amazing mechanics, all for them to not work or even be in the game day one. Don't get me wrong, I don't think the games have gotten worse or they aren't as good as back in the day. I just think that we need to look harder to find those kinds of games. Not very often does the AAA market deliver on the promises that they make. They have become too big for their own britches, and now the indie market is to where to look to find those interesting new gameplay mechanics with unique ways of storytelling. It Takes Two is an amazing example of this. They might have big name money behind them, but they are still an indie dev studio, and they were just given creative freedom, and that's what we need to get back to. These big name companies are too worried about making a profit to try something new and creative. The gaming market has become reactive and trend chasing. Instead of trying new things, they just want to emulate whatever big name game came out that's made a lot of money and is strangling the market. You can find the same repetitive game mechanics in most of the big open world games as of late. Halo Infinite, Horizon Forbidden West, any Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, Ghost of Tsushima, and I can go on and on and on. Huge game studios are losing their big name developers to smaller indie game companies in droves, all because the corporations are too focused on profitability and what's popular rather than the passion for making art in the video game market. And I feel like if things keep going the way they are, all the big name studios are going to cannibalize themselves, and we're just going to get a slew of all new indie game companies, and I am 100% all for that. Essentially, the AAA market is going to crash similarly to what happened in 1983 with Atari, and I am counting the days down. Down with the trend chasing, and bring back the weird games. Bring back the interesting and unique games. No more boring and copy-paste games. I want games that make their own genre. I want games that make their own mechanics, or are just straight up strange and delightful at the same time. Essentially, I just want more Katamari games, because those games are great, and I love Katamari. To conclude, Elden Ring is great, but games should be like this from the start. I'm tired of having to lower my expectations because of some crappy game studio, or the game was delayed, or in development hell. Take your time with the games. Make sure they are coming from a place of love for video games and making things that people enjoy, rather than just another paycheck in your bank account. Stop lowering your expectations because it's the new version of your favorite franchise, and criticize it until they fix it, or don't give them your money. These companies have been making record profits, even raising the prices on consumers, but they haven't been paying the devs any better or making interesting games. The big heads of the company are just lining their pockets with gold, and it needs to stop. Fuck Bobby Kotick. Fuck 2K's CEO. Fuck Square Enix's CEO, and fuck any other big name studio that does this. Pay your devs and let them make games. Stop worrying about profits and worry about if people like your fucking game. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. Also, go play Elden Ring. Thanks for watching, guys. You have a great day. Peace.